Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Madi Jobate, for the introductory in the media fraternity and colleagues from the civil society organizations and all Gambians who are listening or watching this press conference. My role is just to say welcome and also to emphasize the role of the media in development. You are very central, you are very important in whatever we are doing in this country, in terms of ensuring that everybody knows what is going on, because that is really essential. Whatever is happening, the whole country needs to know about it. And without you, that will never happen. So we are really happy that we are having this relationship with you. What we have gone through, particularly through this transitional justice, as Mr. Jobate has said, and in particular the Trrc, has been very, very painful indeed. And we have invested a lot into really going through the process of the Trrc. So we should not really invest and create so much pain in people and then let it lie without being implemented. That will be a tragedy, really. So here today, what we want to do is just to emphasize that whatever came out of the Trrc, all the recommendations must be implemented so that we bring proper closure to the whole process, and also send out a message to the whole world that the kind of thing that happened in the past 22 years should not be repeated. So we are now giving you the task as the media to carry this message to the whole country and beyond the country so that people understand what we are going through. And we are really happy to have you here today. I don't need to take much of your time because as Madi has said, we'll be taking through the statement. There we listen to you. If there are any questions that you want to ask, we are happy really to engage with you in a dialogue so that we all understand the issues that we are putting forward. So welcome, and we just want to say that we are also part of this whole process. It's not just civil society. We are just taking the lead, but then we are all part of it. So if there is anything that any of you can clarify, you are welcome to do so that there is better understanding at the country level. Thank you very much, and welcome to the press conference. Yeah.
Of all of the National Human Rights Commission, and we are elated and satisfied that the leadership of the Commission is taking proactive steps to respond to the human rights challenges in the country. As civil society, we will continue to support the work of the Commission to ensure that the respect and protection of human rights in the Gambia becomes our daily reality. As civil society, we remain concerned about the slow times lack of progress in the areas of civil service reform and security sector reform. The urgency for reforms in the civil service and security sector institutions cannot be overemphasized. Thus, even though we welcome the development of the national security policy and the ongoing plans to create a national defense policy, however, by and large, the state of civil society, of civil service and security institutions remain largely unchanged since 2017. We find this indeed as these two sectors go further to enhance national security and unity. In this regard, we wish to particularly call on the National Assembly and political parties to play a proactive and leading role to enable the executive fulfill its mandate. These reforms are integral to system change, which should be the major preoccupation of Parliament and the political parties. We are disturbed that since 2017, there has been very limited initiatives and efforts by both the National Assembly and political parties to effect system change. At this juncture, let me speak to the crux of the matter why this press conference has been called, and that is about the TRRC. But before I go, I want us to take a moment's silence for all those that are following us online and in this place, to take a moment of silence to honor the memory of those who have lost their lives, innocent lives that have been lost on our soil, innocent blood that has been shed for no just cause. Let's take a moment's silence and honor the lives that have been lost. May the souls of all those who have departed rest in peace. It is necessary, though, that the foregoing issues are addressed in order to give context to the issues we wish to raise about the TRRC. First of all, it is apt to say that the Gambia civil society highly appreciates the work done by the TRRC from the level of the commissioners, the secretariat, and the legal team. We wish to therefore congratulate them for a job well done. We wish to particularly express our appreciation and gratitude to our civil society representatives in the Commission, namely Mrs. Adelaide Sose, the Vice Chair of the Commission, Ms. Anna Jones, and Mr. Mustafa Khan. We have keenly followed these hearings, and we are of the view that the testimonies delivered provide huge resources for the country to better understand ourselves and therefore how to remake this society into a democratic dispensation in which justice, equality, and freedom will prevail as the foundation for national development. As we come to the close of the TRRC, which we understand shall be submitting their final report to the President on the 12th of July 2021, we are determined to play a leading and central role in the post-TRRC era. As required by law, the TRRC conducted its mission to document a true and impartial record of human rights violations of the previous regime from 1994 to 2017. When it submits its final report, including its recommendations to the President, it is the government of the Gambia that bears primary responsibility to implement the recommendations contained in that report. Our role as civil society is to support the Gambian government to effectively and efficiently implement those recommendations within the shortest possible time. We are of the view that the implementation of the recommendations is an urgent national issue that is necessary to not only ensure justice and accountability, but also, quite importantly, to help the country reconcile, unify, and move towards the common good. We are aware that indeed the implementation of the recommendations will require tough decisions, but we strongly hold that indeed if we wish to help ourselves to overcome the simmering waters of turmoil that are currently seeking to divide this country and bring it into a chaotic state, it is necessary that these recommendations implemented in a manner that is inclusive, consultative, and transparent. The government and all of us need to state that these recommendations are not intended to divide, revenge, witch hunt, or cause chaos. For that matter, Tango and civil society urges all Gambians to also be prepared to recognize and accept the truth and be prepared to help and correct the mistakes that they have made in this process of truth-seeking as demonstrated through the hearings of the TRRC, and further appeal to them to continue on that trajectory in the implementation of the recommendations. This is an opportunity to not only for the citizens of today, but for posterity to rejoice. For the Gambia, our homeland, we remain ever true. Thank you for your kind attention. Maybe you give the roadmap, then we can do the questions and answers.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you, John and Omar, for those remarks. So what we would do right now is to share the roadmap briefly in summary, and the rest of it we would have questions and from the press, so that we can end this as quick as possible. So basically, what we did as civil society is to try to understand. So basically, fully aware of the significance, the importance of what was submitted. And this time around, we want that to be different. We want the submission to come with, some noise in the public that, yes, a very significant milestone has been achieved. Now, under this pillar, again, from here, we want to engage certain institutions, organizations, public sector, outside of the public sector, partners, to see what kind of conversations we can have to support each other, to see how do we support, the Gambia government. So we want to meet the TRRC itself. They ran this thing, for 2 years. They drafted their report into a better country. So those engagements would be on the media, but also in our communities, community outreach. We hope we should be able to have conversations in our communities to promote reconciliation, rehabilitation, and all of those kinds of things. So finally, in the pillar 1, that is building public support, we want to see the possibility of convening a national conference on the TRRC recommendations. We are civil society. Civil society itself is very diverse. We have various sectors, interests within civil society, but we have the wider society. We have the public sector, we have the private sector, we have our international partners. As a nation, can we come together and see how best can we implement these recommendations without really harming our society? Because I don't think our objective is we go through this process only to leave the Gambia more divided, more anger and frustration and hatred, in our society, particularly in an election year. Currently, I think everyone is concerned about the political intolerance, the polarization in our society. So we all have a responsibility. How do we manage this for the good of the Gambia? So we want to convene that national conference towards that. Now, our second pillar is about supporting and facilitating the implementation process. So this is about what kind of institutions and processes and resources, and tools that the government needs, that we need as civil society, that society itself needs to facilitate this process. Yes, when we raise all the awareness and encourage people to participate in the process. How do you now implement this? All right. If there's reparation to be done, reparations cannot be done in the absence of money. It cannot be done in the absence of maybe naming certain places. We've seen because that's human rights. So even the one who violated has rights as a human being. We shouldn't, mistreat that person. So we want to monitor in such a way to ensure that there is fairness. There is fairness, because that is the only way reconciliation will be strong. At the end of the day, those aggrieved, harmed, feel have been well, served with justice. And those that violated also feel have also been well served. Whatever is imposed on me is fair and just. You see? So when we have that, what it means is time. Now, they've done it in other societies. In Rwanda, we didn't get to that point. My family, as a neighbor of John's family, because we ethnic groups, Hutu and Tutsi, I went to his family, chopped his wife's head and everyone else. But years later, in Rwanda, we saw how my child and John's child got married, when I was the one who had killed the child's mom. You see, reconciliation. So, because as a perpetrator, I felt what was done to me is I deserve it as a perpetrator. I didn't feel I was, unnecessarily punished. Yes, I didn't feel I was unfairly punished. At the same time, John, even though lost, his loved ones, did not feel I did not get justice, to the point that these two families end up having their, children marry. It has happened. So can we also do the same in the Gambia, so that anyone who feels aggrieved, you feel I have got justice, and it is fair, all right, no hatred. And the one who have violated also feels that what was, given to me is well deserved. Yes, I deserve it, and it's fair. You see, when we create that, then what will prevail is love and harmony, in our society. But this, as John said in his statement, this is a responsibility all of us should have. I think the final note, if I have to make any call, is to say to the victims, to all of us, let us not be angry. Despite everything, let us not be angry. Let us not be vengeful. Let us not be hateful. Let us not seek blood, right? But let's demand justice and accountability. That is fair and just and humane. All right? So to the perpetrators, also I say we can take a few minutes to answer to those questions, and we call it a...
Yeah. The press will have to start paying for allowance for movement of mics. All right. Is this yours?
I have two questions for you. My name is Taylor from Ghana for Online News.
Okay.
The first question is, why now? Why now and not after the report has been issued? That's the first question. Why now? And then the second question ties into what Madi was pointing out. Act 22. We've already seen official food. The government is not really playing ball with the victims. They are not really willing to, well, there's been some pushback with regard to the renaming we already highlighted. What makes you think that they are serious to change and implement any recommendations? You say they're not many or very few.
Okay. All right. On the first one, why now? If you look at the roadmap, you will understand why now, because we don't want to repeat mistakes of the past. we wait until things happen, then we react. This shows our proactivity. And Madi has said in the roadmap that one of the key things is to get public support to be able for the implementation of the recommendations of the report. The way you do that is by beginning to raise awareness, agreements we have with government, even before they receive the report and begin working on the white paper. It's good that we begin to engage. I think what our role, we have said over and over, is to support the government. The government has the main responsibility of seeing that the recommendations are implemented. But we are beginning now so that we could get the public to be aware, get everybody to be on standby and ready to run when the report is submitted. On the issue of seeming pushback, I believe our position is we have tried to get information, but also we are beginning to know that there are some issues of procedure. We have not tell you that, but we've contributed by people just giving every month, some $100, some $200 for a year. So why can't that be replicated in every office in this country? In the banks, in the private sector, in all civil society organizations, it can be done. So,
I have a follow-up question to that. Thank you so much for understanding. I just want to highlight the access to information bill. Clearly, it's a huge progress as a media person. This is fantastic. But it also highlights another issue, which you almost touched on, the Elections Act or the Elections Bill, which is currently stuck in the National Assembly. You don't know if it's going to the rules of the game for this election is still in limbo. At one of the last press conferences with CA, we asked him about it, and he felt that this thing will not be passed in time.
Well, I think to a very large extent we have to reduce the negativity. That doesn't mean that we don't hold our political party leaders or our politicians to account. We should put pressure on them. But I believe the members of the National Assembly are politicians themselves. The election bill is going to affect them. But for the greater good of the country, we will urge them to try to make sure that it becomes law as soon as possible. I think that will be good for all of us. In the absence of a new constitution going into a presidential elections, I think at least let's have electoral reforms. I know the registration exercise under the old constitution and under the old electoral law, but let's keep talking to our politicians and keep pushing them to do the right thing. I hope we will be able to get something. But the CSO coalition on elections, I think, should be in a better position. But I know there has been a lot of engagement in that front. We will keep talking. We'll keep talking. One of the things I keep saying, I think, honestly, Gambians, we have to stop talking at each other. Let's begin to talk to each other. Let's begin to appeal to the humanity in each other, the goodwill in each other. This is our country. It's not an us versus them. It is all of us together. All right?
Any question?
Any other question? Okay. Yes. Okay. You know, the reason why we are beginning this engagement is to meet as a people, to begin to see how together we could work. That's why in the statement we have talked about for our country, because our country has to heal fast and move forward, because we are far behind in development. Look at our neighbors. We are far behind. So the sooner we heal and move forward, the better for all of us. And everybody has to come on board. And the government must take the lead. And we will join them and partner and see a day like yesterday could happen again in the country. Any other question? Yusuf, let's see whether no other question, then this journalist is a very, okay. If we don't have any, then we can take from Yusuf.
I have two questions. Controversy. It's interesting to talk about controversy. Trrc is being engulfed by controversy of late. The first question, the two political parties have visited the victim center of Lake. We've seen it, and similarly, we've had Maggie highlighting that this is about the victims. I'm calling on the political parties to be proactive as well.
Yeah.
What's your message to those two political parties who have come, who visited them, obviously, that's the UDP and the Citizens Alliance?
Yeah.
And what's your message to the other political parties who haven't come in? So, and then my final question, because I want to give you all of them now.
I hope I remember them.
I will remind you.
All right.
My final question, what do you say to those who currently are claiming that the Trrc is being politicized? We've seen Dr. Babakale come out with a statement of resignation. And not only did he come out with that statement, he has put out some publications entitled Never Again, the manifesto of an unlikely candidate. What's your message to that? What to those who say it's being politicized? And we know SFR is about to, apparently, is rumored about to announce himself as a presidential candidate. Is the Trrc a political launch pad?
All right. On your first question, political parties visiting the victim center. It is, and please listen to me carefully, it is a noble initiative for political parties to meet with victims if they are genuinely interested in the plight of victims. But if they are taking the victims for a ride and for political expediency, it is sad. It will be very sad if that is the case. And I'm saying this because of sometimes our mistrust for politicians. Because it's election year, sometimes people just do things. But if at all it's out of a genuine motive, then we honor them, we celebrate them. But it should not also be that other parties also, because two have gone or CA has led the way, everybody is going now to the victim center. And I think the victim center should be careful and be wary of such things. That's my take. I'm not too sure whether I'm speaking on behalf of Tango. On the second bit, the politicization of, in fact, I read somewhere that the Trrc political party, which was unfortunate. I have raised concerns about the resignation of Dr. Babagale for whatever reasons. I feel if you are executive director, if a commission comes to a close, you should be around for the audit and the proper closure and the proper wrapping up of things. And I have raised that concern with the AG chambers as a member of civil society. I think it's my responsibility. He may have very good reasons, but I think, honestly, for audit purposes and for proper closure, he should have been able to be there until everything finishes. I cannot comment much on Mr. Esafal because I'm not too sure. I've heard rumors, but we don't work on rumors in leadership. If that is done, I think caution should be taken. But I think every Gambian, and it's not only Mr. Fall or the members of the workers in the TRRC, but every Gambian should ensure that the TRRC doesn't lose its steam. The purpose for which the TRRC was established, for truth, for reconciliation, for reparation, for those three, we must ensure every Gambian, every well-meaning Gambian, and even if you are not well-meaning, try to be well-meaning, so that these three, we will have them at the end of the day. Because if not, I'm telling you, none of us will be happy with what we see. War is bad. Chaos is bad. Anywhere there is what the Wolofs call fitna. There is a proverb in Creole. Yusuf, you ask the question. They say, rain no dey fall on a one-man domot. The rain doesn't hit on one person's house. So if you are hoping for chaos, thinking that it will not touch you, all right. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I think every Gambian should just mean well for the victims, mean well for the lives that are lost, mean well for families that are grieving. Because it is also disheartening to see Gambians. It is sad